Welcome to the Art of Marketing Operations, a Taylor podcast. I'm Glenn Bottomley, and today my guest is Sowmya Kotha, Senior Manager of Marketing Operations at Planet, the leading provider of global daily Earth data with the highest frequency satellite data commercially available that is transforming the way companies and governments use satellite imagery data to deliver insights at the daily pace of change on Earth. Thanks for joining us today, Sowmya.
Thank you, Glenn. That was a nice introduction about my current Planet organization. Excited to talk to you.
Likewise, me too. Well, and you are so passionate about finding the best ways to solve problems. When we chatted before, we talked about solving problems. And since so much of the daily work in marketing operations is problem solving, can you just explain how you saw the importance of how a marketer should approach problem solving and then the difference that can make in their work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Marketing operations, you do work like there are many standard practices there. Okay, you need to provide these dashboards, these reports. Every day you need to report on this. But the problem arises when your work becomes everyday routine. You need to start questioning things. You need to work on them. And you need to approach these reporting, whatever you are doing, in a different way. That's where problem solving comes in. There is a way you can report things. There is a way you can analyze things. So when you start looking into the reports, whatever the data you're capturing and producing it to sales and marketing teams, there your approach matters, and how you analyze this with your problem solving skills, which you accumulated over years, definitely helps you.
I think that is exactly right. And, because to your point, if you look at a report and you publish that report weekly, daily, or if it's real time or whatever, over time, you have to get to the point of saying, why do the data show it that way? And absolutely questioning that. So walk us through the journey that you have gone through to get to where you are today as it relates to this style or this view of problem solving and sort of questioning everything.
Absolutely. So during my childhood, I was always passionate about mathematics. So I used to solve problems. I used to love doing them again and again, same stuff sometimes or else new stuff. And then I have an automobile background as well, work with an automobile company back in India. There I had seen different level of operational work we had done in headquarters. And then that I related this to my marketing operations jobs, whatever I had worked with all the previous companies. My approach of problem is obviously different from others I had felt when I had met different colleagues. Of course, I had learned from them as well. But the way I look into it, it's more of like what I heard. My way of solving could be different because of my background. I may be looking into things little different than others. Sometimes I may look similar as well. So your background helps you to grow in every aspect. It's not like particularly this background helps. Whatever you learn in your life, everything comes together when you're working on something. So surroundings, your growth matters.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And, one question that I would have for you then is, where do you start? How do you know when you're actually looking at, for example, the same data over and over and over again? When should you question and start looking at problem solving through this unique lens? When do you know it's the right time to question data?
That's a great question, actually. Many marketing ops work on scheduling emails, or their team members work on them. At a point when you are sending multiple emails, you need to start questioning how those emails are performing. Is it really worth investing your time on sending thousands of emails per quarter? Is there any value there? That is a questioning. Then optimizing the number of emails, that is your action. How you optimize? By checking your email performance reports, you'll take an action. Is it really worthy? Is there any engagement with my emails? Is there any unsubscription rate increasing with my emails? Then connect your dots with your email performance. Is there any connection with my marketing qualified leads? Am I attributing this to at the end of the pipeline? If you're just doing your stuff, building emails, sitting there, I finish my ticket, I'm happy, you won't see that improvement. The why
Mhm.
here matters, and how you
Yeah.
solve your why helps.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I think is really fascinating. And I love how you phrase this is that it's like you drive your teams, you drive marketing operations by focusing on the why and why solving that problem, why things are performing the way they are, why the data is showing what it is. Can you expand even further just in your experience, either in your current organization or in previous organizations, why have or how has understanding the why helped you um, make your marketing operations more effective through this questioning?
Sure. I could go with the start of my way how I solved. Back then, I was not exactly in marketing operations. My role was more of operational, where we used to check. There were many dealerships at the automobile company I had worked, and we were looking at the performance reports, like how each and every one works. And it's sort of a health card. Then you'll be sorting the best performing, bottom performing, medium ones, and categorizing how you approach. Back there, I used to just report numbers and not worry about anything else. Later one day, I thought, okay, why these people are working seriously on this? What is there inside? I'm putting numbers, calculating, but I'm not paying attention to that. When I started questioning, the meaning was very impactful to me. Then I started understanding, okay, this is why we do this health cards. This is how it helps in increasing our revenue. This is how we can find out where it is working, where it is not working. Then, when I started my marketing ops jobs, here also I implemented something same. I'm doing stuff, but why we are doing this? How this is impacting at the end goal revenue? Am I really contributing, or am I just leaving after finishing my work and not worrying how these things are progressing?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Because it sets up to your point. It's, are you just delivering a report? Are you just
correct,
providing data? Or are you providing intelligence to the organization that makes better decisions and
correct.
makes, a more powerful impact on growth ultimately for the organization? I think that's really good. And so, can you walk us through then about how do you then encourage and train and teach your marketing operations teams to look at problems through these sort of different lenses? Because to your point, I think if you're just looking at it from the perspective of I have a report to produce, I'm producing the report, I'm giving that report to the organization, and someone else is then evaluating or looking at what that data actually means.
Yeah.
So how do you then drive your team to look at things through a different lens so that they don't just take, that almost call it the easy way out of, I'm just producing the report and sending it off.
Absolutely. So, over the course of years, what I understood is what I exactly know may not be 100% correct. There are people, they may be from my team or other teams, they know much better things than me as well. First, I try to understand what is their way of problem solving. I'll give them question and I ask them, what do you interpret with this report? What do you do with this? I do with this. Then I try to take all the pros from both of our way of problem solving and try to approach this. So in this process, even I'm learning with them. Even I am understanding a different way of approaching it and trying to learn. And if they are thinking something different, I try to create an argument with them. It's a healthy argument. Just sit with us. Okay, I think whatever you are analyzing with this, let's take some scoring project, lead scoring project you are doing. Okay, whatever the points you are giving for demographic scoring, I don't agree with you. Now come up with an argument why I am wrong or why I'm right. That way you can learn. So this way the person will get confidence in why they want to go for a particular method of solving the problem. And during this process, if I win, okay, we'll go with this. If that person wins from my team, we'll go with that process. It's always should be an equal value to everybody's opinion, and we should always learn from others.
Yeah. Well, and embedded in what that approach that you use, what's so insightful there is you're letting the best idea
Correct.
win.
Yeah.
And whatever is the right thing. It's not about, you having the right answer or this employee having the right answer or that one being wrong or this one being right. It is you're evaluating. And some of the things that I know that just in my own career that I talk about a lot is, hey, look, we're throwing this issue up on the board, on this whiteboard,
Mhm.
and we're looking at that. We're looking at it together. That's what the issue is. We're trying to solve that. The issue is not between you and I. The issue
Agree.
is this situation. So I
Yes,
love how you sort of frame that as this constructive argument to argue back and forth to tease out what is the right answer. That's a really powerful method.
I agree. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have learned a lot from this. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also to your point, I think you're also that from a subtle HR perspective, you're also building a stronger team because as you have to report up to executive management and other leaders. And by you driving that behavior with your team, you're developing the chops, the ability for them to be able to grow so that at some point, as you move to your next, career step up within the existing company or what have you, then they are better trained to how they argue and use data to support an argument by you kind of having that back and forth with them constructively.
I agree. I totally agree on that because always when you are a manager or when you have a team, it's not about how you give directions to your team. It's always about building that strong relation where you rely on each other. That is what happens with organizations right now. You're always measured on your trust between your employees, manager, and a reportee, and also between how you are responding to them, how they are satisfied with your performance versus you. It's mutual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we should always respect. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant insight. Now, Sowmya, when we met before, one thing that I thought was really fascinating about your background is your problem solving background really spans multiple international teams. So I'm curious, how how does having a global mindset sort of influence how you approach problem solving and also how you try to teach and influence your teams on problem solving through this context of international teams?
Sure. This is my favorite question I could say up to now. Well, I'm from India. So I'm brought up from southern part of India. When I worked in Delhi. It's northern Delhi. And I would like to compare this answer with how I do this globalization approach, how I approach these problems. So India has a wide variety of cultures, languages, different behaviors of people as well, although we sit in one same country. So when I moved to northern part of India, the way I used to talk with my colleagues, it was totally different. I used to be surprised, and they had really helped me to communicate with them in their style and also to approach the problems. It actually helped me, and I used to sit in headquarters. I used to be connected with all the regional teams inside India, and their way of solving the problems or looking into their regions was totally different, which really helped me to understand. Then I moved to back in like US and work with many different countries. When I connect the dots, it pretty much same. It's something like India, which is like worldwide, although they talk different languages, just like India, but they are in different location. And the way of these all things is definitely different. But the best part here is you may think your language is the best, and you may think if some other person is talking to you in Spanish or some broken English, you may think, okay, this person may not be smart enough. It is definitely wrong. When you look into the way they are looking into their goals, solving them, you'll be amazed how they approached. So, this strength of background gave me a different perspective looking into and communicating it to these people and respecting them, how they do their stuff, and also being adaptable and learning from them. So, that's why I love working with different worldwide team members. It's always a learning opportunity.
Always a learning opportunity. That I couldn't agree with you more. That has been my experience in working with international teams as well. Is it becomes for me, it becomes very humbling
Yeah,
because you recognize really just how brilliant so many people across your organization, or depending on who you're working with outside the organization, how they are, and it is something that I feel that having that international experience gives you a greater sense of respect
yeah,
of others in how you can, continue to drive an organization forward. In addition to the language and sort of working relationships and how you build those, are there other sort of lessons that you bring every day to your day-to-day work that you pulled from your global experiences?
yeah, absolutely. Here and there, I could see some patterns. Like in some, I do get some different questions when I'm talking to people from Latin America or African locations or Asia Pacific. The way of problem solving is really different. They look into very differently. But at the end, as a company, we all have a similar goal. We reach that. How they approach that is definitely different. When I talk to them, they say like, "Hey, at this location, whatever trade shows you are seeing, this may not be a trend here. We go with different approach. Maybe we do phone calls or we do a more webinar approach, and we see high success. You shouldn't force these people saying, hey, no, worldwide US, we are doing this. You should do this. No, you have your end goal, the process they are working, and they are the domain experts. They know the location very well. They know what things work for them, and you need to give that. And you need to accept and learn from them. So one size doesn't fit all the time. At the end goal can be same, but the approaches would be different, and you need to be
Yeah.
adaptable.
Yeah, and to your point, it maintain that helps you maintain flexibility
Agree.
to adjust to the sort of the unique aspects of the market, the cultural aspects, et cetera. And I think your comment about a webinar approach might be really really effective from a marketing perspective in this region, but over here it's really going to be face to face, or it's
Agree.
more you've got to have more conversational things. um, I think that is just so a great example of the sensitivity that marketers need to have to drive growth. Because if it's the one size fits all, you're not, just as one size fits all doesn't work as a leader
Yeah,
to individual teams, it doesn't work that way with customers and growth either.
agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So how, with all of this work, how do you feel that it has made you just a better marketer overall?
Well, definitely every day from the people you meet, either in the company or outside, you learn from them. That's what I emphasize on generally. But meeting these people globally and also working with different companies has definitely changed me. If I look into myself when I first started working versus now, I literally am totally different, I could say. I don't just accept the changes. I try to go through that. I look into data first, get more confidence before it's like, okay, did this percentage of whatever industry increase or this revenue increased? I used to accept. Now it's like I literally go back and check into numbers and see what impacted this increase. Is there any specific campaign influence this increase? So that sort of questioning gives me much more confidence. So if anyone asks me any question, I know those numbers, how they came, rather than that is there, look into it. So I know if anything breaks, where to go and fix it, I know clearly.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. I sometimes think about looking at dashboards and reports and so forth. I sometimes use the analogy that it's sort of like an airline pilot. when you are learning to fly, you have to, get so many hours, and then ultimately you can work up to getting a certain type of certification called an instrument rating.
Yeah.
And in an instrument rating, you have to wear literally a sort of a helmet. I'm not sure if they still do it this way, but in the past, you literally had to wear a specific helmet where you couldn't actually look out. You could not see the sky. You couldn't see the ground. All you could see was your instruments in front of you, and you had to take off, and you had to fly, and you had to land, and so forth. And so you have to understand and both trust that the data you're looking at is real. But to your point, it's even more complex from a marketing operations perspective, because you can't just necessarily trust this dial on a dashboard.
I agree.
What is driving those data? What is making that dial go up, go down, etc.? And to your point, not only is it being comfortable with the numbers, but it's the source of problem solving. To your point, is that you want to, if that is flying off the chart or crashing like crazy, executive management is going to be asking you for what's driving that. You really have to know that source.
I
So
agree.
I really think that's really interesting how you look at data that way. It's almost that through that mindset of instruments and understanding what's driving the gauges, what's driving the performance of the company.
Yeah, when you are in charge of your marketing tech stack, you need to have complete knowledge of what tech stacks you are handling. You need to know how this data is flowing from your different systems, how you are managing, what are the sync issues between the systems. And you need to have complete control of that. At least you need to have a health report at the end of the day to get that visibility. It's on high level. And when someone approaches to you, hey Soumya, I think this thing is not working for me. I'm not seeing probably lead sources missing, or I'm not seeing any campaign associated. Something is missing. Don't solve just that problem. Try to go, find out, dig into it. You may find 10,000 more or 100 more. Try to fix at that location. If you solve just that one problem, it may come again. So solving at root level can fix everything and gives you much better idea. And this is how happens with even reports also. Then you get that. So your way of looking into it, just like the example you mentioned, your way would be a little different. You will be looking into, okay, why this transition is happening, why this conversion is very poor, what I can do to this. For this poor conversion, you'll look into it. You'll look in depth.
Yeah.
Something is broken. Then you'll
Yeah.
report.
Well, and also your advice of don't just solve the one problem, because again, it could be endemic or systemic to another larger issue that could be, affecting your tech stack efficacy. So I think that that's a really good one. And so when you think about, sort of the marketing that you do on a day-to-day basis, there is obviously digital marketing and outbound, but also physical marketing. So how have you found that both physical marketing, sometimes known as offline marketing, or digital marketing or online marketing, how do you generally try to combine those to both help solve a problem internally or help you with your outbound marketing to customers?
Definitely. Physical marketing is obviously a challenging one to measure. Always marketers struggle to measure what they are doing. So you need to come up with innovative methods with all privacy laws as well, and make sure you're compliant and then report your numbers approximately. So during my previous experience also, I worked on organizing some customer events where operationally I used to measure post event what is the success. But if I am myself right now, I would have done much better job in calculating post event analysis compared to before. At the time, it's more of like, okay, this is implemented, we are good, done. But now it is much more different. Uh, a post event analysis or post campaign analysis, be it a physical event, digital event, or marketing, whatever it is, you definitely needed to analyze it. It's more of like, let's take direct mail campaigns. You take a QR code with UTMs in it. You try to measure how the performance is. If there is cookie issues or something, try to come up with a different landing page for them. and try to attribute that success to a particular campaign. Why this is necessary? Because when you provide clear metrics to your team, that gives them something in hand to do something again, repeat this campaign next year, and they can distribute their budget based on this. If you're not doing this post analysis or not doing clear attribution, everyone will suffer and this investment will go on waste. So it's always required either direct mail or any physical events, workshops you do. Try to get that list, whatever you can, and keep an eye on your dashboards or somewhere and see the result. And then differentiate, is physical event giving me much success or else digital? And try to allocate something similar for your next year campaigns.
Yeah, and because to your point, I mean, it reinforces the brand or whatever your outbound efforts are, even inbound.
Correct.
It's something that can help to just support what you're doing from a digital perspective. And I love your comments about making sure that track what you can and then track back and connect to all of your marketing mix, physical, digital, online, offline,
Yeah,
whatever that is, to try to figure out what can you control and of what you can control and track, continue to do more of what's successful.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Samya, when you think about your career, there's something that's really fascinating about this conversation today. And it was, you were talking about how earlier in your career, you would just do a report or send this out, et cetera. But what is so clear to me as we've chatted is the degree at which you have grown in your career, how you have grown in marketing operations, and how strong you are today in a grasp of data, understanding the marketing function. How does that make you feel when you think back on your career and the transition that you've made and the growth that you've made? How do you feel today?
I feel, I would say, good. And even looking back, I forget to look back actually. Okay, what happened? Well, am I really, was it like that? Or did I used to look this way? I mean, it's amazing to connect that dots. That's true. And that is what you learn from colleagues. You need to meet people, you need to work with your superiors, you need to understand how. So whatever I am, it's because of the people I met and the amazing people who had guided me in each and every company. I still be in touch with them and I talk to them. That's really great. So right now I feel like, yes, I learned something. There is still a lot which I don't know, I need to learn. There are many people and I'm in Silicon Valley, so it's like the knowledge is unlimited, I feel. What do you know, it's already obsolete. I know something else someone would say. So yeah, meeting with people even at Planet, I have amazing colleagues. They have different insights in approaching. So when they ask these questions, also I would be like, oh wow, yeah, this is a great analysis. We should do that. So I think it's a continuous process, but at least now I feel empowered. When someone questions me, I'm actually immediately responding. I know what I need to provide and what I can learn instantly. Before it used to take some time. So
Sure.
that is what the growth is, how you
I
will
love
learn.
I love that. Well, and it's continuous learning,
Yeah.
continuous lifelong learning, and leveraging networks and teaching and learning. I think that's fascinating. This is one thing I constantly love about marketing, just in general, is that it's constantly changing, always morphing. You're always learning something every single day. It's absolutely fascinating to me. So Sowmya, before we wrap up today's episode, what is the main takeaway that you want to share to help understand the challenges facing marketing operations executives today?
Well, marketing operation is something may not be visible to everyone. It's not a fancy team. You may see marketing and sales. Operations is something goes sometime backside, but they work behind the scenes. Um, and there are some organizations which I had worked and were currently working as well. They give that priority. They do understand the importance of you. So I would like to say always try to make your impact and try to understand how things are working and try always don't be afraid to share your insights with others. And you have your strength and you know something totally different than others. So it's a great opportunity everywhere if you want to grow. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
Wonderful. Astute observations and comments. Thank you so much. Well, that wraps up this episode of The Art of Marketing Operations. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sowmya.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn. It was nice talking to you.
Exactly, me as well. Thank you. Until next time, stay safe and take care.
Thank you for listening to The Art of Marketing Operations, brought to you by Taylor. Don't forget to hit subscribe in your favorite podcast player. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and share. Until next time.